All right, what's going on, y'all? So yesterday I was asked a question by a friend. A friend was looking for a used car, in the market for a used car. You know, stimulus, taxes. You know, a lot of people are in the market for used cars around this time. So she wanted some advice. And I gave her some advice because, you know, me, I bought a lot of used cars in my lifetime. And the advice that I gave her, I'm about to give someone out there if they were in the market for looking for a used car, slightly used car or a slightly older used car. I'm not a mechanic, but it's just some of the tips that I use for myself when I went out and looked for a used car. The three things that I look for in a used car and I always pay attention to. I pay attention to the motor, the transmission, and the suspension. When you think about the motor, you want to pop the hood. You want to start the car up. You want to hear the engine. You want to make sure you don't hear any odd sounds. You make sure you don't want to see any leaks. You want to go underneath of the car. You want to see if there's any leaks. You actually want to look at some of the, like under the engine bay, just look around to see if you see any loose wires or something that doesn't look right or something that look misplaced, or even if somebody try to rig something up just to make the car look decent enough for you to buy, you know, and just trying to trick your mind or something like that. You have to let the car run. You have to hear the car. Don't get in the car and immediately drive away. Just let the car run and let it settle and let it get its motion and everything. Let the oil and everything goes through the motor and let it do its thing. Walk around the car, talk to the person as it's running, you know, give it some time. And then get inside the car, check, make sure there's no check engine lights or anything like that on. Maybe you want to have a scanner that, you know, the scanners that they sell that you could put under the dash, plug it in to read the computer system to see if any codes will pop up. And of course you can take the codes and you can, you know, of course Google the codes and they'll let you know what's actually going on if any codes pop up. You want to turn the air conditioner on, make sure that works. Turn the heat on, make sure that works. I don't think the radio is mainly a main concern, but if you want to turn the radio on to see if that works, cool, do that. After that, you know, walk around the car, you know, check everything, look at it. You come in, you're inside already, so you probably seen what it looked like inside, but walk around the car, see what you see, make sure if you're not too heavy on like scratches and nicks and dings and stuff like that. If you see rust and you think the rust is a little bit too much, like check all that stuff. You get inside the car, test drive the car. Test drive the car, period. Because now when you test drive the car, you want to hit its transmission. You want to see if it's changing over. You want to make sure it's not hesitating. You want to make sure that it doesn't like do some type of jerking or anything like that. That's one thing you definitely got to check. When you're driving, you want to see how smooth it feel. Like the suspension, you want to see if you hear any rattling, you know, if it's a front wheel drive car or you hear the axles or you hear some type of like metal on metal. And usually when you hear that metal on metal, that means that rubber bushing is like gone. So now it's metal on metal. So chances are, if you keep driving the car in that condition, metal on metal, that metal on metal is going to eventually snap. And then this is what I've seen with multiple people that have bought used cars on side of the road. I've seen where the wheel is completely like this. And that's because that whole axle or that bushing right there that holds the wheel together with the axle, it snapped and it pulled it off. So you don't want that to happen on the road, because that's could turn into something very, very dangerous where you get into an accident and basically total the car, or even worse, get into a major accident where you harm other people. Because if you're on the highway and you do a slight turn and it snap, you're going 60, 50 miles an hour on the highway or on a regular road, and boom, you know, it's an accident. So you definitely want to make sure that the suspension is good. And like I said, those are the main three things that I look for overall, period. But I honestly believe that if you're really out there looking for a car, that you should get the car inspected, or you should have a mechanic with you, a reputable mechanic that can understand, like, okay, they know about certain cars. So if you're going looking at, I don't know, car A, and he can sit up there and tell you, you know, car A, what year is it? But he'll say, okay, you know, car A is such and such year. Okay, I know that these cars have such and such problem, this problem or that problem. Or he'll go and say, okay, this car actually is a good car. It does this, is this. You'll get a lot of miles out of it, as long as, you know, just so that's why I say you just get a mechanic. They'll explain everything to you and it will make sense. Versus you sitting up here, you know, trying to figure out whether this car is worth getting. Because I've seen multiple people buy cars and within a month, maybe a month and a half, the car is on the side of the road with the temporary tags on the back and it's just sitting there. for days or weeks, and you basically took whatever money that you put for that car, whether it's $2,000, $3,000, whatever you spent, is down the drain because you basically bought a car without actually doing the real research in detail. I think a lot of people just underestimate how valuable it is to basically overlook. Like, you can overlook a lot of things if you're really not paying attention to the car. The car is major to understand that you have to do everything in the world to make sure this car is right. You're going to spend a lot of money in the long run, whether you're paying for the car financially right away, or when you get the car, you drive it for a few months and then you realize that this car has a lot wrong with it. Why did I buy this car? I'm about to spend more than I ever spent for the car on just getting repairs getting done for the car. So like I said, if you're out there looking for a car, I give you a few tips on what to look for. It's other tips that, you know, a mechanic will actually put out and tell you to look for. But like I said, if you really don't know too much about cars, just go get yourself a mechanic and have them go with you. Like, even if you got to pay that person $100 to look at the car right there, or even if you're about to get the car or you want to get the car and you tell the person that you're buying the car from that you want to get the car inspected and you'll pay for it, I would actually go with that too. I would actually say, you know what? I like the car. I don't know too much about cars, but can I go get the car inspected? And I'm willing to pay for the, you know, to get it inspected. And if everything is good with the car, then I'll purchase it. That would make a lot more sense too. But those are the few tips that I gave my friend and I'm giving to y'all. And then you can run with that and you can take that. Like I said, I'm not a true mechanic, but like I said, I bought used cars and I understand certain things about cars. And those are some of the things that I definitely like pay attention to with my eyes, and I sit there and I think about it. So that was my tip